Sila paramita, the paramita of ethics. And from a Buddhist point of view, ethics, what's important is the intention behind our actions. So actually something that can seem exactly the same on the surface might have very different ideas, views behind the action. So for example, someone can be very generous and say, give me a gift because they're thankful and they just want to show that. Someone else might give me exactly the same gift, but they're doing that with the intention of trying to win me over or get on my right side. So although the act is exactly the same, the intention behind it is very different. And that means it'll have a different effect. So we talk about actions being skillful or unskillful. If they're skillful, that means they're in line with reality. They're coming from a place of compassion, of love, generosity, wisdom. If they're unskillful, they're generally based on greed or hatred or delusion. And part of our practice is learning to recognize the difference between the two. And they're also, we use the term skillful because it's something that we can learn, we can practice, we can hone our skill. And we're continually refining what our understanding of ethics are. So they're not good or bad. We're not going to be judged by opinion of God. Actually, what the practice really means is we have to take full responsibility for our actions. And that's a big ask. And it's our actions of body and of speech and of mind. So even our thoughts are going to have an effect. The Buddha talked about what we often put our mind, think about or ponder upon, that will become the inclination of our mind. And of course, if that becomes the inclination of our mind, then that's going to affect how we act and how we communicate. So we just need to take responsibility to be aware of the effect of our actions on ourselves and of course on others. So karma means action. And actually, we are who we are today because of lots of different things, but some of those are because of our past actions and also because of our conditioning, where we were brought up, the influences of family, of society, all these things will have had an effect. But now we can decide how what we do now is going to affect who we become. So we have the opportunity to change, to grow. And we do that by trying to become more aligned with reality, with the way things actually are. And we do that by following the precepts. So the precepts are ethical guidelines, they are training principles that will help us to live more skillfully. And these precepts were particularly given, our teacher, Bhante Sangharakshita, specifically decided to draw out the positive precepts. So we have 5 positive precepts. And I said these aren't rules, they're not laws, but they're just guidelines. So he talked that the first one is with deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. So it's important that these are deeds, they're things that actually need to do, that they are active, they can't just be ideas that we have. We need to put them into practice. And in a sense, all the other precepts come out of loving kindness, out of metta. If we can continue to act from metta, then that's going to have a positive effect. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. And again, this is important because this points to us actually being generous without expecting anything back. We're just being generous because we want to be generous. And there's many different ways to be generous. We can be generous in acting, in offering fearlessness, of giving people time, giving people our attention, of giving money to those in need. And this is, in a sense, a base practice for Buddhists, that we need to be connecting and supporting others, whether it's just through friendship or whatever. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. And this, of course, points to our trying to be happy, to be content with what we have already, without craving things that we think will make us happy, things or people that will make us happy. So we need to find inner contentment, be happy with a simple and straightforward life. And again, this is a practice. And that will include a level of renunciation, of letting go of those things that hold us back. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. So this communication is really important. A lot of our communication is immediate, and it's between our head and our heart, isn't it? So we can quite quickly react. And I guess part of the practice in terms of communication is trying to create a gap. Trying to create a gap where we can decide, is this going to be helpful? How am I communicating? Is it coming from kindness? Is it truthful? And is it creating harmony? And we can do this in all forms of communication, whether it's internet, Facebook, texting, all of these things. And it's quite a few of them expect very quick replies, but it's really helpful just to create that space to decide, actually, is this the right course of action? And then with mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. And if we have a pure mind, then we can be aware of our actions and the consequences of them. If our mind is intoxicated, then that mind is not as clear. And then we aren't, in a sense, able to have that awareness to decide what is helpful, what is skillful, and what is not. And we're very fortunate we've come across Buddhism, and we've come across it in a way that is understandable to us in this time. And by practicing these precepts and being aware of our intention behind our actions, then that will help us on our path towards enlightenment. Thank you.